Alright, let's jump into how to build a pack cave for PvP. Okay, so if you're going to be living in a cave, you need a few things, right? You need to know how to build the outside as well as the inside. So for the outside, we'll go over a video in the future that will show you how to build turret towers, teleport pad towers, and things like that. For now, for the pack cave, we're going to go over what you should do though. So as you can see, we have different ways of spamming the outside. You can just cover it in straight foundations if you want. Or you can build these, one foundation, one ladder, or one foundation, one wall, whatever you want to snap to the foundation. Foundation needs two pieces to keep it from being auto-demolished. Ladder is just a cheap thing to put on it. Used to, you could put fence foundations on it, but they don't seem to let you snap them onto it anymore, but they do snap from it, so you might just be able to snap a fence foundation off of it. Either way, if you want to do that, just make sure you spread them far enough out that one C4 can't hit multiple foundations. Which is the issue with this. You can get multiple C4 in one spot to hit 4 or 5 foundations at once. So you can destroy these foundations a little bit faster. But it is kind of more of a pain when they're together like this as well for players to deal with. So you can just foundation all of this area off if you wanted. It's also a lot more expensive. You can use metal or stone. Stone isn't as good, especially in 6 times. It can be broken with melee weapons and dinosaurs. You could use tech because it's resistant to explosives, and tech's great to use for that reason. It's only weak against like other tech, so they would have to use a tech rifle or tech rex and burn up their element if they wanted to save explosives. So you could do that, but it's in 6 times damage, so I don't know if you'd want to really burn through your tech for that, unless you're just element rich. And if you want to build a turret tower outside of the pack cave to protect the entrance so that it also shoots all the way to the entrance, the only places you can really put a turret tower, so there's the entrance there on the left. But the only places you can really put a turret tower really would be right here near the edge of this little bluff. And from where that 4 foundations are, or 2 foundations are with the tech walls going up, and just a couple of foundations to the right of it. That's pretty much the only areas along that line there that would be able to shoot the entrance of the pack cave. But this is all 6 times damage, so it wouldn't be great. You'd probably lose that tower pretty fast. So you notice here on this cliff, I put some foundations down. This is where you could put a teleporter or a outside fob, whatever you wanted to put out here, so you could fight from outside your cave. This is outside of the 6 times damage area, but it is up on a cliff. And of course, a hatch frame Quetzal can pop it without too much trouble. So this over here is probably where you would want to put your teleporter if you're going to have one near your cave. This way, it's harder for a hatch frame Quetzal to pop it. It would probably just be better to have a teleporter somewhere else in the world and just travel over to here. And of course, you want to follow the same rule going up on the cliffs here, using triangle foundations to block off your cliffs. One triangle foundation and something else attached to it. Another triangle foundation if you want, a triangle ceiling, a ladder, whatever is cheap to attach to it. Of course, players are going to be blowing these up so they can start building their fob nearby and coming inside. But again, this is a slowdown. The more they have to spend blowing these up, the more time you have to realize they're there. Okay, now for on top of the pack cave. This is where the pack cave kind of gets complicated, right? The pack cave is close enough to the surface that if your turrets inside get blown up, and the enemy puts turrets up here and they cap the turret count by placing for 1 turret up here for every turret they destroy in your base, you can no longer place turrets in your base. That's not a good situation to be in. So you want to just cover the top of the cave in spam everywhere, okay? Now, the problem with the pack cave is huge underneath. And we're going to show you some of the boundaries real quick. So if we go from here and we head over toward the metal hill near Green Obby, kind of toward Green Obby, the cave goes all the way this way. It goes almost right to the edge of this metal hill and then cuts back to the right. And it goes all the way over there. So you can see this is one point here where it can block, your turrets could be blocked if they place stuff here. So you got to cover from the top of that cave over there all the way over here. And then you got to cover all the way to the swamp and then over on into the south. This cave stretches quite far. The good news is that eventually it gets deep enough that you no longer have to worry about being able to stop you from building inside by them building up here on top. Okay, so here's some of our markers here where you're going to need to have also foundationed off all the way to here. Alright, So it doesn't hurt the foundation off further anyway to force them to build their fob further or have to clear a lot more to get close to your base. To give you an idea of where here is, let me go up. Alright, so you can see the Pat Cave way over there. So all the way down this river. So this is a great farming place for meat, so it kind of sucks to have to block all this off. Okay, so there was that point in the swamp there where you can see, and the Pat Cave continues on over, and it goes almost to the 4 times note over there, and then it swings back into that area there a little bit, and I'm going to go into the mesh and kind of give you an idea of its layout. Alright, so we went into the mesh somewhere between the swamp and the 4 times note. Alright, so as you can see, this part and to the right is high enough up, and any turrets in there can be detected by just trying to place turrets above here, and any turrets destroyed in there can be blocked by turrets being placed on the surface. Alright, and then if you see, then it drops down into those water tunnels, and go back into some other like little pathways there, some little rooms. So you can see these are deep enough that your turrets can no longer be seen. Let me come back up out of the mesh and show you exactly where that is. Alright, so about where I placed those in the swamp. But now it's time to go inside the cave, and I'm going to show you 2 spots, because these are the only 2 spots that matter. And once they're past these spots, your base is done for. So of course you want to span the inside of your cave with foundations as well, but you don't want to block your turrets. So as you're coming through this hallway, you'll notice I put railings up. We'll go over that in a second. And these triangle foundations I put in places. You'll notice I put them in places where the turrets can't see them and won't be LOS'd by them. So, as you notice, I've placed these railings in here. Tech railings would be better, but you could use metal railings if you need. And of course, on top of tech or metal fence foundations. And what this is for the speedrunners. This slows the ability for players to speedrun through here with their dinosaurs and on foot. When they run into this, it should slow them down enough that the turret should kill them before they can get to the turrets. That's why it's important that these are made out of tech and not metal. Yes, of course, they can tech rifle them all down if they wanted to. And that's burning their element. But that's your goal, right? Get the enemies to burn as many of the resources as possible so they have to go back and farm more and possibly end the raid and go home. So you notice as you come down this hallway, you can only see a few turrets. This is a problem, right? Dinosaurs and players can rush through here with beer and get really far with only a few turrets shooting at them. And you notice no tech turrets in sight. But there will be tech turrets. You just can't place them in sight, and we'll go over that in just a second, because I'll show you what's going on here. So as you come in here, you'll notice up on the left side, tech turrets. Up on the right side, tech turrets. So as they rush in here, those tech turrets should start blasting them, slowing them down, pushing them backwards, and keeping them from able to reach this wall. So this is the big weakness with the Pat Cave. The only places you can place turrets are in these areas where they can only see a small amount to shoot at. So you have to cluster your turrets, which is not ideal. One well-placed rocket can take out a huge cluster of turrets if they're all packed together like this. Unfortunately, you don't have a lot of choices. Okay, so you'll notice I placed signs in the caves, but these signs won't be there for the defenses, right? They'd block your defenses, but this says 16 foundations. What that means is, from the wall where the turrets are, to the outside of the cave, or right to the entrance of the cave is 16 foundations. So if you watch my turret range video, you'd know that tech weapons shoot 17 foundations, which means they can hit the wall here with tech weapons. Tech saddles, tech rifles, whatever. So if you put any tech turrets where in splash range or where they can see them from outside, they will be able to shoot them down and kill them. But as long as we don't put our heavy turrets on structures, they will not be able to shoot the heavy turrets. So that's why you have tech turrets over here, over there, and up here. So they can't be tech rifled down, but they should bounce them back when they come in here. So pay attention to this build. Don't use structures, because any turrets on structures will fall if the structure gets blown up, and tech weapons destroy structures. Okay, so you'll notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tech turrets over here. Right, that will hammer a player and kill them really fast, even if they're running through here with shields, and push them backwards. Right, then we got heavies upside down and heavies in the corner. That's to add extra damage as they come in. And that way, any damage they survived from these little grouping of turrets here, hopefully the tech turrets will shred them and finish them off before they can reach here. Unfortunately, a Zerg isn't going to die fast enough. So say 30 or 40 players are running in a line with rockets. One of them's getting in and destroying this cluster. But you have all of this over here, so as soon as they step almost in range of the rocket, they'll get hammered like crazy over here. And if they do happen to destroy this cluster, Right, they still have to fight their way through all of those turrets over there. So we have 100 turrets between these two rooms total. Alright, so if you're defending this location, be ready to replace these turrets as fast as possible, and constantly be trying to grapple players that are coming through here, or using some kind of dinosaur to keep them through. But be careful about using dinosaurs in this room. You will LOS your turrets, and they'll be able to run around you and blow your stuff up. So if you're going to have a dinosaur, keep them like over here. Like if you have a Giga that can fit in here, keep your Giga here, and then when they run into the... when they get to about there, just chomp on them. Be very careful about blocking your turrets. Your Giga isn't going to do as much damage as a whole bunch of turrets all at once. Honestly, I probably wouldn't use a dinosaur at this part. I would wait until they were coming into this room, and you have your Giga standing around the corner here chomping, or it's not really affecting the turrets in the area. Right, then you'll notice in this room we did this again with the tech railings. This is to stop any speedrunners from coming through here and to slow down any rocket runs going. Of course, it was only a slowdown, it won't prevent it. And then you notice we have turrets on the ceilings, turrets on the walls, and turrets on the walls, and no turrets on structures. You also notice we did not blanket the cave in foundations. And this is very important. Do not blanket the cave in foundations. I understand that foundations block people from building near you and coming in and pushing in with their own turrets. Do that with triangle foundations in the walls, against the edges of the walls, going up the walls, in the ceilings, or wherever. They won't block turrets. Do not put them on the ground. You could blanket the ground in foundations if you wanted, but if you do, do not set turrets on the foundations. So why is it important that you do not place turrets or other things on foundations, or that you don't put foundations on the ground? Here's what happens. Players get under the mesh. Alright, if you're on a PvP server, you're just going to have to deal with this and understand this. You're going to be meshed at some point. So, to avoid meshing, wildcard allows turrets to shoot through the mesh now. So if a player de-renders your cave enough to shoot rockets into it, your turrets will turn and shoot the rockets down, and they won't be able to mesh you. If your cave floor is covered in foundations, they can find spots to blow up the foundations and then shoot rockets through that hole to get close enough to some of your lower turrets to blow them up. And of course, this allows them to also destroy your generator without having to deal with turrets, so you don't want to do that. So you can place a couple of generators in this room. You can put one right back here behind this pillar if you wanted. You might even be able to place it up on the pillar, but then you wouldn't be able to encase it, but that might be okay. And then as you come into the room, right, you take a left, you can go around this cave here, and then you can see this kind of little structure I built over here. This is where you'd put your teleporter and your generator. So if you notice, this could be vulnerable to meshing. So what I did was we placed a turret over there, not on foundations, and we've limited the number of foundations in the area. So this turret should be able to shoot any rockets coming from that from this, from about low and from this angle in this arc here. And then that turret right there's job is to shoot any rockets coming from any other angles in this area, and that turret can do that as well. So nothing should be able to come underneath this and hit this because we didn't completely block off this area with all foundations. And this turret here is just to protect from meshing as well. And it just stops rockets from coming in through over here in case these structures blocked any of the line of sight on the turrets. And of course your generator goes inside this little box. So when placing your turrets up on the ceilings and walls, just kind of spread them out as best you can, but still letting them focus their fire. Alright, so if we see, we have a limited range of firing the turrets can do to shoot inside that hole there. And of course, the closer the tech turrets are to the hole, once these turrets are all gone, these closer tech turrets can be tech raffled down. As you can see, they could sneak, peek around this corner, shoot a couple of those tech turrets there, and then peek around and shoot some more. It is what it is, but you need those tech turrets to bounce them back and try and keep them from reaching this wall. Once this part of the wall is breached, this next area will fall pretty quickly if you're not online to defend it. But definitely make sure to put your turrets up on the ceiling so it's harder for them to rocket it, so it takes them a little longer to get in here, and they may have to soak those turrets, or they may be able to sprint past them once they've destroyed all the tech turrets. You could go through here really crazy and just make a bunch of railings all the way through here, but it becomes a pain to defend the cave. And if your defenders are having just a hard time as your attackers moving through here, you're not going to be able to properly defend, and it's going to fall. You cannot build in such a way that you can't defend. I can't state this enough. Your turrets will not protect your base. Turrets are very easy to bypass. Turrets are nothing without players to defend them. If you can get in here and you can slow the enemy down and you can mess with them, then the turrets will do their job. But alone, turrets are not good enough. Okay, so hopefully these shots give you an idea of where to place all your turrets. You want to place this bunch of them on the back wall. You can place a bunch of them on here. You'll need to use a tech suit to probably load them and place them. If you don't have access to tech suits and tech stuff, servers are about to open. You're way behind. You're done. Alright, you're not going to be able to win PvP without your tech stuff. So the key important thing in the pack cave right here is that line of sight. Alright, make sure all your turrets you're placing have a line of sight on that and they're not blocking each other's line of sight. That's the important thing when setting the turrets up, and don't put them on structures. Now you notice here I have some tech turrets placed. They won't be able to shoot through that doorway or anywhere else until they're already in the cave and coming under here. That's okay. These are there specifically for that purpose. They are sneak tech turrets that will apply extra damage when they get that far in, and that way they can't be tech rifled. So if someone's trying to sprint by and get through into the next area of your cave, those tech turrets will be hammering them in the back. That's another issue with this pack cave. This pillar here has two splits around it that go into tunnels behind it. And if they can get back there, they're free, right, to go on to the next part of your cave. If they just rushed back there, they're not going to be able to build at least, so then it's only what they have on them. So as you can see, you can go back through there, and if you wanted to, you could build something to try and block, have a whole wall or something they can't run past to try and block it off. But remember, walls block turrets. You don't really want to be building the walls. But we'll show you as they run through here. So once they get to about this point right here, though, you'll notice very few turrets would be able to shoot them. So putting a door and some walls right here to block the enemy from being able to just charge through would be useful. So they'd have to use some C4 rockets to get through there. Again, tech would be perfect for this. Because they're unlikely to bring tech rifles in here if they're just trying to rush behind your wall. The left pathway will show where you can build your walls here if you want. Okay, so yeah, about where this little knob sticks out, you could build across here and build walls all the way to the ceiling, and then that way it slows them down one more time. Okay, now we didn't build through this. It takes forever to build these builds. Oh, work two jobs. I don't have time to build the entire cave, so I'm just building the defenses specifically that you need to know. Through here can be spam, walls, whatever. Again, keep in mind if your defender's having to run up this way, they're going to need it to be a lot easier for them. If your defenders are only counting on teleportation and not running through here, spam, 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 wall, 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 all the way through. Alright, everything you can do to slow the invaders down and waste their resources, it forces them to go home. Okay, now as turret settings go, most of your turrets should always be on high and set to players and tames. Not players and mounted, not players only, not tames only, players and tames. And we'll go over more of that in a turret settings, but that's just something you should know. Alright, so as you can see, this little grouping of turrets right in front of me should all be on medium. Usually you want all your turrets on high. Right, but this little grouping of heavies right here, from this one up across the top, except for the tech, right before the tech, and then back down, these should all be on medium. That way they are not firing to the outside of the cave. They're firing 3 foundations before the outside. If you have them on high, they'll just sit outside and soak it with a stego or a trike or any other bullet reduction dinosaur that they have access to. The last real place to stop the enemies attacking your cave is going to be right here, through into this next room. So as you come in down through the tunnel, you'll come into this next room and you'll notice as we come through there's a choke point here. It's not an amazing choke point, but it's something. Alright, so you can see the turrets can start firing as they're in here, so they can soak your turrets with stegos. Stego technically can't get past here without glitching a little bit and pushing it through, but technically it shouldn't really get past that. Right, we'll go ahead and go into the room and show you some weaknesses. One of the weaknesses is that from there, from the very far back wall, all the way to about here where the stego would get stuck, is only about 16 to 17 foundation spaces. So if you have your turrets on high, they'll fire all the way into 20 foundations into here. So definitely can all be soaked with this stego. Right, the next issue with this area is players can pop beer, wear the good flak, cut around this corner, and they can get out of sight of most of your turrets pretty quickly as they run down through here. So you're going to want to slow them down with some pathways and then put some turrets here to shoot them as they come through here. And then as they get past this and they start running, there's this big opening where they start getting shot again by a few turrets over there and a few turrets there. And we'll kind of give you an idea of where all these turrets are as we go through. Alright, and then if the attackers are able to push past these turrets and turn to the right, they're almost home free into the rest of your cave, which is really not good. And that's the unfortunate part about the pack cave. It makes it not that strong. Ice cave may actually be stronger than the pack cave still. So as they come around the corner here, of course, they're going to get laid into as they run out here by all those turrets. But now these tech turrets are in tech rifle range, and that's not ideal. But you'll notice, again, the tech fence railings are here to slow them down and buy you time. Of course, rebuild these as fast as you can if they're blowing them up. Waste the resources even more. Have plenty of them sitting around in a vault just to pop out here. And you can see how we have the turrets kind of placed. As we turn and look, you can see. Now this I would suggest doing as well as maybe building something that has a ladder come up and make it very small. Give it a very small footprint. Maybe a triangle foundation with a triangle ceiling would have been better, but yeah, that way you can come up and down if you need to. Alright, then you have a small teleporter here, which will allow you to bring up most dinosaurs, not gigas, but if you pop cryo fridge behind this wall, you can always throw a giga out from cryo. Alright, so we go through the wall. You can see we have bunk beds, a vault, and a cryo fridge. The vault can have like some PvP defense gear. I wouldn't have too much in it, as you can teleport up here with your stuff until the teleporter is gone. So just some emergency PvP gear in the vault, and then some stuff to replace your structures with. You could have turrets in there, but your enemies might get the turrets, but it might be good to have a few in there just for quick replacement. And then, of course, if they get past this wall, and they can head down in the tunnel, and boy, once they get down through there, there's several tunnels they can go into, and all those tunnels connect to other tunnels, and they all come back in, and they can go through your cave in all kinds of directions, and so defense is no longer possible. So you may want to spam this like mad. But again, if your defenders are going to have to come up here on foot at some point, you're going to make sure the spam isn't so bad that you can't actually make it back up. Now, the next issue is they may just try and run through here, sprint, and jump, and try face plant into your groupings of turrets over there and rocket them. That's unlikely to succeed unless they're using a speed hack. But as they jump, they're going to be hit by almost 100 turrets all at once, and they're in the air now. And if the tech turrets knock them back, this is definitely not going to succeed. Now they could drop and try and fall down here and pull some stuff off down here, and then just trying to rush their way through this direction to get behind all your turrets and either be home free or turn around and go back up and blow your turrets up from behind. So what you can do, and I know I said don't do this earlier, but you can spam this with foundations. If they get under and use tech, if they get under it and they start rocketing it and blowing it up, it is what it is. You can put a medium teleporter in here that way. And this makes it so they have to blow a whole lot of stuff up before they can build in here. Of course, cover the walls. And of course, spread out triangle foundations all throughout your walls, up your walls, in the ceilings, wherever they won't be LOSing the turrets. Now, if you notice, I didn't build any structures in here other than that box there, because we didn't want to block the turrets. The good news is it's only 16 foundations from the ceiling to the floor. So those turrets up there can hammer the floor. So anybody that drops in here is just going to get shot with nowhere to hide, as long as you didn't put any structures up. Well, this is where I would place one of my tech generators. Alright, you can build a little triangle foundation thing like this, place a tech generator there, protect it. A player might think they can charge and get underneath and get protected from turrets, but if you'll notice, quite a few of the turrets can still see right here and shoot, so they wouldn't really be protected. And that's why you also have these turrets on this wall here. So you notice 4 heavies and 2 tech turrets will definitely hammer them while they're trying to stand under it and kill them. And they would have taken a lot of damage before they even got to this point. Now, just like the front of the pack, a lot of your turrets are going to be clustered on the wall here, which is unfortunate, but it's the way it has to be done, so they can do the most damage possible as fast as possible. And of course, put as many on the ceiling as you can as well. The important thing here is you need the majority of your turrets to be able to shoot through that opening. So anybody trying to come through there is just getting hammered and the tech turrets are pushing them back. If they're able to dash through and come over this way, we want them getting shot as much as possible on their way. Some of these heavy turrets could be placed all along in here. You can see I have some like that along up in here, hidden in these kind of like limbs and stuff. You can't really see them very well. But I got a bunch of them in here. You could pull some more of these and put them closer and push them up here. That way, if they're charging through and they're running across that, it's shooting them the whole way until they get behind this tree. And if they're behind this tree, they're getting shot by the few turrets that are over there. You could place more turrets over here, but unfortunately there's such a small distance between this tree and this wall and up here. And this is so close to the ground that they can just jump and rocket them. However many turrets you place over here are probably going to get rocketed down anyway pretty quickly if you're not here to grapple them and stop them. You see, you have a lot of heavy turrets and a lot of tech turrets. Tech turrets are very important. They do a lot of damage. They hold a lot of ammo. They push players back. So you can see this kind of layout here. I recommend 30 tech, 70 heavies. Okay, and you can kind of see, and then I'll just kind of show you the layout here. You can see the turrets seem a little sporadic and stuff, and normally I wouldn't suggest that, but in here, there's no maximum distance anyway, so it doesn't matter. They're all going to, if you have all these at the long range, they're all going to shoot the same distance, period, so they can be scattered however, spread out as long as they can all focus fire into the same directions. And the less of them clustered, the better, but unfortunately, to shoot into some of these small openings that we have offered to us, they need to be clustered. Alright, so I'll give you a better look kind of these, how they're set up here, so you kind of see where you want to place them. Oh, the root's in the way. Alright, so that should give you an idea. And now, of course, these aren't on structures, so they're not going to be easy to refill. You're going to have to use a tech suit to refill them. That's going to be the best way to refill anyway. I know somebody can be sniping at you and shooting you down out of your tech suit. Have people return fire, sniping back, pushing. If you need to refill the turrets, have your tribe mates pushing with a thyla or whatever other dinosaur and killing, fighting the players while you get someone to reload the turrets. If you put structures and you set turrets on structures in this cave, your base will fall very fast. They can just strafe back and forth with the tech rifle, blindly firing, and destroy all of your defenses. So while it may be inconvenient to place turrets on the walls like this and make it hard to fill them, it's the only way to do it without completely crippling your base. And now, as you saw, we have this wall down here at the bottom. This is and the railings. This is to prevent them from going through. This is where you want to put the wall. Of course, behind it you can put more and more walls. This is the last place the turrets can see. So if they run up and they're placing C4 on this, the turrets are shooting in the back. And of course, this takes more C4 to destroy than metal. And then on the other side, you have another vault for replacing stuff. Your fridge, your cryo fridge, and your beds. That way you can throw out crowds if you need to. Or crowd dinosaurs up. Either way. The next cave I'm working on is going to be the ice cave. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to be notified of when that video comes out. And if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button. Have an awesome day.